Bushwhacks were some of the worst days I've ever had in the mountains, or life, really.
Whereas Panther Mountain is totally opposite. It's a mountain on top of a crater.
I think the weather challenges on this incident were particularly difficult.
It was really the development of New York State. Catskills were responsible.
Now you're listening to Inside the Line, the Catskill Mountains Podcast.
All right, so episode 196. So tonight we talk with Erik Schlimmer, peakbagger, adventurer, writer. What else can we add to that? Biker, Jesus, long trail hiker, biker, Jesus, everything, right?
Yes, I wear many hats recreationally and a couple hats professionally too.
Nice. So excellent. Welcome to the show. Glad to have you on the show, Erik. This is going to be a fun time.
Thank you. I love having a fun time, so I'm in the right place.
Yes, definitely. All right. So today is Veterans Day. So thank you very much to everybody who has served for our country. Erik, are you a veteran?
I am.
I thought you were. I remember reading it in your bio. Where did you serve?
I was in the Army. I went to basic training a week after I graduated high school in 91. And I wasn't as smart back then as I like to think I am now. So I chose the infantry, which is like the worst job you can select. Did my full enlistment for 3 years, got the college money, and got out.
Nice. Congratulations. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you for your college money contribution. Everybody paid like a quarter cent each. So thank you very much.
Yeah. With interest, I think I'm up to, half a cent. So Erik, before we move on, now that I know that you were in the infantry, you ever shot a howitzer?
I have not shot a howitzer. That was more of the artillery division. I think I think they had different weapons by then. The coolest thing I ever shot was an anti-tank weapon. I was on a range and it hit an old, I think, dump truck and basically vaporized it. It was really cool.
Wow.
Wow.
Is that like a one person thing that you put on your shoulder, or is it like 2 or 3 people?
Yeah, no, it's just it was called a light anti-tank weapon, a law, and it's just a weird looking green tube. You put it on the shoulder, it makes a huge bang, and it's just a one-shot disposable type deal.
Wow.
So the Army and I were kind of a mismatch. I mean, I did fine, but 20-year-old men don't like to be told what to do. But I did get to shoot and blow up a lot of cool stuff.
All for a quarter of a cent.
Right.
Yeah, there's your investment right there.
Yeah.
It was great.
As long as you had fun, man, it was well worth it then. So, yeah, I asked about the howitzer because there's that fellow up in the Adirondacks that wants to put a ballistic testing range in. Did you hear of that, Stosh?
No. Where is that located?
Lewis. It's like in the Lewis Township.
Okay.
Yeah. Erik's nodding his head up and down.
Erik knows this. This is his area.
Yeah, I've only heard briefly of it, and apparently the locals don't like it because that stuff makes a lot of noise.
Yeah, that's what I figured. So, Stosh, maybe we can look into that and talk about it next time we're together.
Yeah. I mean, that would be fantastic. I'll have to hold on. Wrote it down.
Excellent.
Nice. All right.
And I'm taking off my orange hat. I just only wore it to remind you that it's hunting season. So wear orange when you're outdoors.
Correct.
Unless you have plenty of life insurance.
And that is a very good, once again, with the shooting range as well. It brings kind of like it in. So once again, wear your powerful colors to let you know that you're out there. So fantastic. Also, I wanted to bring this up, doesn't get talked about a lot. I don't know why that it doesn't, but this month, November, is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. So wanted to, give a little chat about that and just, say that, November is definitely a special month. It hits close for home for us a lot on the trails. We Men always have, talking about like physical strength and pushing through and being tough. But there's definitely other things that you need to think about. It doesn't mean that we can be silent. We have to be taught, we're always taught that we keep it together no matter what. Don't cry, don't talk about it. Be the hard stone that there is there. And the truth is the pressure of that can really break us. You hold so much in, you want to be that strong person, and you want to be the strong guy that holds everything together. But you don't have to be that way. You can always talk to someone. You can always say, I'm struggling, I need to talk. You can always, let out some emotions, cry. You can laugh. You can do anything. Climb mountains. If that gets you out of that hard shell that you have, do it. Real strength is honesty. Is letting your guard down to let yourself heal instead of letting that weight pile up all the time. Once again, we always have to. We're always told to be like solid and stuff like that. Like that's the only thing I can think of is hold it in, like suck it up, Buttercup. But that's not it. We need to. We're human. Men are human. We have friends out there. We have brothers. Whoever you can chat with. Do it because it is a big thing to think about. Men's health is we are here. Sometimes we hold things together. Sometimes we can't because we have a lot of pressure on ourselves. So once again, if you need to talk to somebody, I'm always here. I wouldn't say that I will respond within like seconds, but I can let you know that I can be there for you and I will respond back. And if you need any help, ask somebody or go on a hike, let yourself breathe, talk about it to yourself, let it out, stuff like that. We are not always here to just hold it in and be that strong, solid rock. We have emotions too. So Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. Thank you to all the guys who are helping other men out and stuff like that to, get that pressure off of our backs of being just that person that just has to hold everything in just because we're men. That's the way we were raised. So don't suck it up, Buttercup. Let that emotion out. So, yeah, that was kind of weird.
Erik, what movie did that come from? Suck It Up, Buttercup. Do you remember?
Well, I am ashamed of myself because I consider myself a movie buff. I don't recall.
Yeah. Was that now that I put Erik on the spot, maybe I'm wrong. What was it? Was that Raising Arizona?
That might be.
No? I don't know. I'm going to check it out. Our fact checkers will check it out and they'll get back to us sometime next month on that. So,
yeah. I just wanted to bring that up. So hopefully, once again, if you need someone to talk to, I'm here. Send me a message. I'll get back to you. We'll talk. I guarantee Erik or Tad will talk. So I'm sorry to put you guys on the spot, but I guarantee, with something like this, it's very serious. So thank you, everybody, once again. Also, Erik, this is kind of like your area. So with our next topic, Proposal 1, I was told by a lot of people that they never knew about it and they just put their yes on the ballot, and that like a week or two before that this was thrown into their faces, they had no clue about it. So like a lot of people were just like, what the hell is this? I guess, if we get 2,500 acres of land, it's good. So let me vote yes for this. But the real, like a lot of like local people that have been up in the Adirondacks a while know that, the Adirondacks are forever wild, that nothing should change. It's going to stay the way it is from then to now, or to whatever, that nothing can change. Even you, once again, like Erik knows, he's been up on those peaks and stuff like that. You can't even like trim some of the trails, the old trails that they have going up to some of those peaks. And once again, this creates hardship for not even just the hikers, but the rescuers, the first responders that go up there. There might be I think they were talking about, Ted, we had them on there talking about Allen Mountain, where there's a lot of entry points to get up there. But, if they kept these areas open, they could have reached them quicker, but they couldn't because Allen Mountain is 8.5 miles to the summit, when there could have been easier ways to get up. So, Tad, we talked about this last episode, but like, do you think this was a little messed up that they did this?
Oh, I don't know. I'll be interested to hear what Erik has to say about it. But my quick assessment is it does illustrate the importance of having a robust and free press, journalists, investigative reporters who, are out in the field and gathering information about what the government is up to and what we should know. So, Erik, do you know what Stosh was referring to with this New York State proposal or proposition number one in the Adirondacks?
Well, maybe I'm not the best guess. I'm like 0 for 3 saying I am
That's
not.
okay. That's okay.
What can you give me the cliff notes of proposal 1, please?
Yeah. So the Cliff Note version is there was a proposal to amend on the ballot this year in New York State to amend the Constitution provision that says certain lands in the state of New York shall be kept forever wild. And then there's the exceptions to the forever wild. And it goes on and on and on and on with all these exceptions. And so they wanted to add an exception to the exceptions that said for the Mountain Van Hogenberg area, which is managed by the Olympic Authority, certain trails and improvements, recreational improvements in that area are in the forever wild part of the Adirondacks. And either they need to restore those areas so they can be forever wild, or via this amendment, the proposition was that the Olympic Authority could not only continue to use those areas, but they could improve those areas for recreational uses consistent with, international standards, which wasn't defined, provided that they buy an additional 2,500 acres of land to be made part of the park designated forever wild, et cetera, et cetera. And so I pointed out last episode that they don't say when they're buying the replacement land. They don't tell us what the character or nature of the replacement land is, because I pointed out that, open tillable fields are a lot different than old growth mountainous forest areas, is just one example. But it seems that a lot of people were unaware of this proposition being on the ballot, and on its face, it sounded good. Let's give up a few hundred acres that are used for cross country and Nordic events in exchange for 2,500 acres that will be forever wild. So that's kind of like the Cliff Notes version. Any thoughts?
Right. On its surface, it sounds okay, but we all kind of know Albany's reputation. Who knows what is buried in this? When you started explaining it, I did hear about this a little bit. People were comparing it to Whiteface, where it's in the Adirondack Park and ORDA controls it, and it's basically a state-run recreation center, which is kind of similar to Mount Van Hovenberg.
Mm-hmm.
I know Van Ho, as they say, has had a lot of improvements recently. They recently had a World Cup mountain bike race and some really good stuff going on. But the devil is in the details, as they say. And I'm a little suspicious of any type of regulation, legislation, whatever that's introduced late at night, a couple weeks before a vote needs to be taken on it. I get the forever wild clause and all that. I think it's great. I guess it would be what is going to best serve New Yorkers best. Is it more untouched land? Is it better recreational opportunities? Is it more economically motivated? And that's usually good in the Adirondacks. I'm not really sure. Now, as part of this, it would it affect any current infrastructure? Do you know?
My understanding is it legitimizes some of the current infrastructure that was built inside the forever wild area. Oops.
Whoops.
Yeah.
It's definitely, once again, one of those touchy areas of, do we want to keep bringing in? I mean, do we want to keep bringing in more money, economy into the Adirondacks with the enhancing Mount Ho, or do we want to keep it forever wild and say, hell no, let's keep this like it was? And it's not a lot of people knew about it until like a week before, and then I would say 75 to 80% of the people that voted had no clue about it and just saw 100 acres additional to the Adirondack Park, and they voted yes. So I was on the edge. I didn't even see the ballot for it, so I don't think I voted for it. So I'm gonna admit, like, I was just like, I didn't really look that much. So I guess it was on the back, like Tad said, and it's very touchy because once again, Adirondack is forever wild. You want to keep it like it was when they freaking logged the shit out of the place, and then but then like, do we want to keep it up to date to bring in future revenue? We had the Olympics back in the '80s there. Why not bring it back again to this beautiful park that had an amazing experience in the '80s when we won the freaking oh God, well, I'm not saying
Hockey.
Hockey, yeah. It wasn't World Cup, but the World,
the Olympics, the gold medal.
Yeah, like that.
team.
That was the greatest story ever. Thing, bobsledding, stuff like that. Ski jumping, Olympic ski jumping, cross country skiing. Everything. Wouldn't that be cool to come back here? Yes. And then there's other people saying, hell no, let's keep that away. Let's, like, what the fuck? Why would you want, sorry to be like that. Why would you want to not have that cool stuff come up here?
You're talking to the wrong person, Stosh.
Why?
You look at all of the hundreds of millions of dollars that get spent on those facilities. And then you got people that are sleeping on the street. People that don't have a place to go and, eat dinner. It comes down to an allocation of resources. And the Olympics are great. Little do you know, but my grandfather was in the Olympics. And so it has a special place for me on the one hand. But way back then, they didn't spend the kind of money on the Olympics that they do today. So I don't know. And amateur sports aren't what they used to be. 50 years ago, to be in the Olympics and an amateur athlete, you really had to earn it because you had no economic support other than what was raised through volunteer efforts for you. Now you get these corporate sponsorships, and it kind of changes the playing field for people. So there's a lot there.
Subject. So.
Yeah. I'll also throw in, while I'm on the topic, that's the reason my grandmother moved away from Lake Placid in 1979, was to get out of there before the Olympics came to town.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. So.
Was that bad?
Well, she was at that age where she just didn't want to deal with all the aggravation of the, prices, congestion, and maybe she didn't want her grandkid coming up and hanging out at her place anymore. So she moved on.
Nice. All right. So yeah. So I just, once again, touchy subject. Wanted to bring it up again that it was voted yes. So, and then a lot of people that, of course, voted no were just like, nobody knew about this until a week or two before it was on the ballot. So crazy. All right. So thank you for shooting the shit, Erik and Ted. Really appreciate it. Thank you to the monthly supporters, Bob McLean, Chris Gerbian, Jeff Jotz, Vicky Ferreira, Mikey S., John Comiskey, Summit Seekers, Desert City Radio, Betsy A., Denise W., Vanessa, Jim C., and Erik. God damn, that's a long list. And I thank you guys very much for supporting the show. I really appreciate it. Once again, I keep saying soon we'll be making a donation, but Tad and I have to figure out. I'm thinking the Forest Ranger Foundation, definitely, because they do so much for us. And then maybe the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference, maybe someone like that. We'll figure it out.
Or we could buy 2,500 acres for the Adirondacks. Make it forever wild.
I don't want to bring that to the state.
Oh, okay. So we'll just buy that private resort we were looking at in the Western Cats for, what was it?
14 million.
14 million. Yeah, we'll have some change left over for the forest rangers.
I have some other thoughts about where to purchase. Is there's a place over in Westkill that's about 4 million, so drops it down to 10 mil. So it's right over across from the Westkill. So I think that's affordable. I think we can do that definitely.
Erik seems unimpressed by.
He's like, you can purchase a rock down in Frickin' Westkill for $200,000 right now. It's ridiculous. All right. So also our sponsors of the show, amazing sponsors. So Outdoor Chronicles Photography. Molly specialized in adventure couple photography and immortalize your moments amidst the stunning landscapes of the Catskills, Adirondacks, and White Mountains. She'll craft timeless images that reflect unique bond in nature's grandeur. Embark on an unforgettable photographic journey with Outdoor Chronicles Photography. Don't hesitate to get a hold of Molly on every single platform. Also, discover the wilderness with Trail Brown Project. Our expert-led hiking and backpacking education program offer unparalleled outdoor experiences. Whether you're a beginner or seasoned adventurer, join us to learn essential skills, explore stunning trails, and connect with nature. Start your journey today with Trail Brown Project and unlock the wonders of the great outdoors. So once again, the big question, are you really outdoors? So mention the podcast, one of your hikes through social media. We'll chat about it on the show. Tag us by typing at ITL Catskill MTM podcast on your post. And it only counts if you only tag us. So these people were the only one that counted. So Chaotic Exotic Lisa tagged us in a kind of a great video that showed it was starting to snow. And I was wondering where she was going. But she ended up doing Black Dome, Black Head, and Wyndham. Did kind of like, I would say the loop. Is that, yeah, that's a pretty good loop or there and back.
You can make it into a loop.
You could.
With a little road walk or, cycling.
Lisa will actually be on the show in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So,
and that's where we're going to ask her, is she gridding?
Ooh. That's a big question. That's a tough question.
I'm seeing the indicia of somebody that's out there gridding.
Yeah.
That's what I gather.
True. So also Golden Money Cat Nicholas went on 2 hikes, one up Halka and then up Balsam, Eagle, Big Indian Fir. Also posted about his little hike up Indian Head and Twin to rekindle his 3,500 quest. So great. The Golden Money Cat Nicholas is killing it. I got to admit, Balsam, Eagle, Big Indian Fir is a hell of a hike. It's a great hike.
Yeah. He also might be guilty of gridding.
Do you think? I think
that's a classic gridder's hike there, right?
Yeah. I mean, Eric knows that area pretty well, right?
Yeah.
And that brings you from great forest. You have all sorts of forests going through that area. So it's pretty fantastic. So good job, Nicholas. Also, Pink Pody 818 Tracy finished her 2025 Fire Tower Challenge on Tripper. Congratulations, Tracy. Fantastic.
So, Stosh, have you ever done the Fire Tower Challenge?
I did it years ago.
Yeah.
2023. That's when I did it with Alex.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, he was fantastic.
I have to check my notes because I might have actually done it this past year. I have to look and see when I did Red Hill.
But you also have to do the Esopus.
What do you mean the one at the Catskill Center?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been to that.
Oh, I have never been to that. I don't know why.
That's where we should have the live episode.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
We should.
I think that's a great idea.
I find that a reliable source of a bathroom. Sorry.
Eric's not impressed where you go to the bathroom. He's like, I queued in all for that.
Eric's a freaking you know what, Eric, with all these questions, thank you actually that sparked my interest. Now I'm going to ask you about your amazing quest that you've done and where you've gone to the bathroom. Boom. So also,
I do like a person who can find a bathroom because they're very resourceful because maybe they're not that common out in the boonies.
Yeah, so, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a bigger challenge is, though, not finding a bathroom out in the boonies, finding a bathroom in Manhattan.
Oh,
okay.
True.
I can imagine.
Public. Yeah. I know some of our listeners are nodding their heads up and down right now. Yeah. Out in the woods, not very hard. Downtown NYC, good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck.
So,
all right, moving on to hiking talk.
Yeah. So Barefoot Ken So Ken, we had him on the last episode of the show, finally tagged us in as one of his hikes, making it to number 589 of his goal of hiking 1,000 mountains barefoot. So absolutely insane. And Ken Posner.
Yeah, Eric's just making a face at that.
Yeah, he's like, wow,
yeah.
My next challenge, Erik.
Yeah, I am a tenderfoot, literally. I do know barefoot hikers. I do know a woman who hiked the Adirondack 46 barefoot. And then
Wow.
I don't think this is a gentleman barefoot, Ken, but years ago, many years ago, like 2 decades ago, I read a great article about the mayor of Saratoga Springs, who is an avid barefoot hiker as well. But 589 peaks is impressive to begin with, even if you're wearing footwear. So this is quite the feat.
Yeah,
No
literally.
pun. No pun.
Nice. No, nice. Good job.
Like that?
Was that planned? No.
No, it wasn't.
It freaking worked itself out. Nice. So Ken is also probably, he went up Mount Whitney. We talked about that too, barefoot. Part of the Grand Tetons. He went up, I think it's Teton Peak. He went up barefoot. So insane. Like it was a great episode that we have. And I've had him on the podcast 3 times. So he's a fantastic dude. So Vicky F. Vicky was at Citizen Hard Cider. Apparently, she tagged us in a post. So awesome. Lisa also Chaotic Exotic also did the Hunter Loop, starting at Westkill and ending at the Spruceton Trailhead. Nice, beautiful, fantastic hike. You can get that done pretty quickly.
And again, further evidence of
a gritter,
gridding activity. Yeah,
Erik's going to come back and grid, right?
I would not hold your breath.
Oh, you'll be back. You'll be back. Last but not least, Catskill Mountain Bruce Scott did the Eastern Devil Pass with Zorro. Zorro, his dog only has 8 left. Fantastic time that he said he had. There was a different plan that he had to do. Broke up his plan, but he still did the Eastern Path, the Devil's Path with Zorro. Fantastic time. So sounds good. So thank you everybody for tagging us in the show. Really appreciate it. Glad you're having a good time out there. It's getting to be winter, so not a lot of people are going back out and hiking because they're afraid of the winter. Don't be afraid of it. If you have the appropriate gear, you can battle the winter and frickin' enjoy it. We'll talk about this later. I was very jealous not to be outside today. So, also buy us a hard cider to support the show. If you think we're doing a good job and you want to show us some support, buy us a coffee hard cider on buymeacoffee.com. Also rate the show if you can. 5 stars or more is like what we want, but 5 stars is what we need. If you don't like the intro, skip it. That's the big thing.
Well, I hear if you give us anything less than 5 stars, Erik is going to come over with his LAW law and launch one into your car.
Nice.
Instant vaporization. He's nodding his head up and down. That's an affirmative.
With enough motivation, I will find one.
There you go.
I like that.
He's our type of guest.
Yes, I was going to say, I like his attitude. And now we have security. All right. So anybody drinking anything tonight? Who's having something to drink? Me, Ted. I'll go first. I'm having a good old Hudson North orange and cream hard cider, as always. Do I have anything freaking different? No, I don't.
Okay.
Oh,
I'm gonna launch into this. It's my version of the law. Everybody, cover your ears.
Beautiful.
That's the sound of a zero gravity duck juice. It's been on the show before. It'll be on the show again because it is so good. It's almost like Kool-Aid. It's an IPA. Just bring your own straw. Sip gently.
Sounds like an ad for them.
Yeah. They're my new sponsor. They just don't know it yet.
Nice. Well, thank you.
I'm going to send them the contract.
I didn't crack one open. I got another one, so I'll crack it out. Well, yeah. So I don't need to crack it.
You're intimidated by my. I've got good crack game.
That doesn't sound good. That's not a good proper wording. What was it? Very poor choice of words. Yeah.
When I say that, I think of your encounter with the tick from a few weeks ago. And that's where we're going to stop that. Okay.
Jesus. All
No
right.
more
So,
of that story.
yeah. So, Eric, do you got anything for us? Or do you have any, like, do you drink?
Yes. It's funny. Sometimes if it's a more relaxed podcast, I will bring a beverage. Um, and sometimes I feel a little bad, but it looks like I'm in good company. I reside in Colorado, so I'm appropriately drinking a Coors Banquet.
Ooh.
Mm, okay.
All right. I wrote that down. Awesome. So glad to once again have somebody joining some drinks on the show because like we don't get that often. It's like laid back. It's this freaking podcast. I do this for fun. Come on, like you gotta have fun. And Eric's smiling, so look at that smile. I love it.
Yeah.
This is
He's
what I
ready
see.
to get it on.
So
Yeah, it's great.
previous hikes, Eric. I got to hear what you've done recently.
Oh, yes. I actually haven't been hiking much. I made a return to mountain biking, but my last hike was probably 3 weeks ago. I live in southern Colorado down by the New Mexico border. It's rich in mining history. And so I had the pleasure of hiking up a few peaks about a half hour from my house and finding an abandoned mine. And it's graded off. It's a vertical shaft, so you don't fall in it and die. And I was wondering how deep it was, and I threw a rock in, and then I had AI calculate how deep it was, and it was friggin' 700 feet deep.
No way. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Jesus, 700
That's
feet.
crazy.
So to compare that, I'm trying to compare that with something of 700-foot gain. You know, I mean, straight up, that's just insane.
So are you in the Durango area?
Not far from Durango, I'm in the San Luis Valley. So
Okay.
I'm between the civilizations of Salida and Alamosa.
Oh, Alamosa. Yeah.
Crazy. Awesome.
You ever hook up with Rob Roll?
I'm not familiar with Rob Roll.
No. Rob Roll, former mountain bike racer from the 90s, also a Grand Tour rider.
Was he also a road racer?
Yeah, he has been in the Tour de France
Oh,
as well.
yes. I know
Now,
exactly who you're talking about. I had no
Yeah.
idea he was out here because I remember in the 90s he raced for Proflex.
Yep. Yeah, he's a Durango guy.
Nice.
Where,
Yeah,
where-
and
go ahead.
not far from here lives John Tomac.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Boy, he's a hardcore dude.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he lives in Cortez.
Yeah, he was a full throttle downhill mountain bike racer and cross country racer.
Yeah.
So he was total badass back in the day.
Damn, Eric, I'm looking at the maps. I'm jealous of where you're at. You know, you have the Mesa Verde National Park right next to you. You have some massive peaks close to you. I mean, a couple hours apart. That's I'm jealous. You should see how many stars are on the Mesa Verde area for me to go visit.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. I have a window just to my right here, and I look out and I see the side view of the Sangre de Cristo Mountains, and that range alone is 200 miles long.
Wow. What's
Yeah.
around your area? Like, you know, what is your highest peak within, hour, 2 hours distance?
Well, my house is at 7,700, and
No shit.
15 miles out this window are 4 14ers.
Wow.
Have you climbed them?
Not these yet. No, I'm a
No?
recent transplant to the San Luis Valley. I was concentrating on peaks in the central part of the state. So this spring, I'll be up here. But spring is a relative term. That means like June or July in the high country.
Yeah, true. True. You got all the freaking spring weather that brings the thunderstorms, lightning, and stuff like that. Plus, you don't know what's up on those high peaks. A matter of like 8 feet of snow or something like that. So, wow, jealous. That looks actually fantastic. So awesome. So looking forward to maybe getting you back on, of course, with your quest of the 14ers when you go out there. That'd be fun to hear about. Tad, I'm going to go. Give me a sec. I didn't do anything today. I didn't do anything this past week. I had to work.
Ooh.
I know. I had to work both days. So Sunday and Tuesday I had to work. But today I got out of my car up in Albany and those winds were whipping. It was 31 degrees with a wind chill of probably around I would say 14. So, and I was picturing myself up on, I don't know, Hunter or something like that with those winds that said they were like 60, 70 miles an hour today. And I was just like, God, this is the time I want to be on a peak. Just feeling those winds whipping and crazy. Oh, jealous. I got that feeling. So, Tad, what were you up to this weekend?
Well, I guess, my segue from where your head was to where I was is when I went hiking on Saturday, the ambient temperature wasn't in the 30s. The wind chill wasn't drawing it down into the teens. It could have been the last fall hiking weather day of the fall. So I set out Saturday morning to do a hike. I needed a couple small segments of trail around Round Top and Catskill High Peak. I also, for Grid 2.0, needed Round Top. But what I didn't need was to do that hike the same way I've done it many, many, many times before. So I parked at Platte Cove. I was the fourth car there. I point that out because when I got done with my hike around 3:00, the parking lot was jammed, packed, full of cars. But like I said, I head out from the parking lot. I took some old trails that showed up on my Gaia map out towards Huckleberry Point. Got to the lookout on Huckleberry, looked over the Hudson Valley. Then I headed out to the north along that untrailed ridge that goes back up to the moat around Catskill High Peak and Round Top.
Yep.
And I also had to, like I said, finish off other sections of the moat. And I can report that easternmost leg of the moat is the moatiest of the moat with the deepest muck spots and mud holes and whatnot. But at any rate, I crossed that, went up what is known as Eagle Ridge, went up the chute, crossed over Catskill High Peak. I ran into some trail runners up in the balsam forest. Then I ran into a group of 3 who were at the canister. One of them had just finished her round of 35 and was all giddy about it. Took off to
You sound
Round Top.
depressed about that. That's incredible. You're like all giddy about it. That's a great accomplishment.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's, for me, it's just, I do remember my first time there and some other times there. But yeah, they were, I don't know. I hate to say this, but they were just oozing that hiking vibe that I have a hard time warming up to. So there you go. Guilty of being judgmental.
Yeah.
So nonetheless, I continued along to Round Top. Round Top is as steep as it ever was. So it was somewhat challenging to get up it. I went up it the way you and I went down this past January, I think it was, that we hit it. And then I descended off of Round Top. I actually spent a little time exploring up there because there's some interesting grassy areas in and around the summit where some of them give you great views of Hunter and elsewhere. But then I descended down to the moat and I continued counterclockwise about 2 miles back to where that lower plane wreck is. And there's a few sections along that 2-mile stretch that I hadn't been on before, because I used to do a lot of bushwhacking through there and I would just cross over the moat, but not really hike on it. And there are some pretty interesting areas along there. There's a couple hemlock groves through there, and there is more of that mucky, wet moatiness that we see elsewhere. But as I was hiking through there, it occurred to me, and I've noticed this before, but it occurred to me as I was finishing up, hiking all of that loop around those 2 mountains, is I think that is literally the only place in the Catskills where you can hike around 2 mountains like that on a trail.
Like kind of like the base, kind of like
I'm going to call it, I'm not necessarily the toe of the slope, but it's almost like a terrace or kind of like the base of a crown if you
True.
will. And if it drained better, it would be a much more enjoyable hike. I had frankly, mentally, I had wanted to do this hike when the temperatures were below 25 degrees, so the surface would be very firm and not yielding. So at a certain point along the way, because I was using my trekking poles to get used to using them for winter, I invented trek pole vaulting, because there's spots where it was so wet and so deep that when you went to put your foot down, but there was fresh fallen leaves on top. So as you're putting your foot down, you don't realize that your foot will just keep going down, down, and further down through like the fresh leaves. Yeah. So you reach this point where you're like, okay, this could be like up to my knee if I don't do something. So you just put both poles down. You just kind of like leap forward to an area where as you're leaping, you're hoping and praying it's not deeper than the area that you're leaping from, because then that's really bad news. So there were some areas like that, but I successfully made it back to the plane wreck. Then I just, I did the little bushwhack back to the outer trail and continued down to Platte Cove parking lot, where again, it was chock full of cars. I noted that there is a boot cleaning station there now. Have you ever seen that before, Stosh?
Yeah. I think the last we did 2 cars there, right?
Yeah.
It was there last time.
We've
had that there for a while. The Catskill, I'm pretty sure the Catskill Center put that there for invasive species.
Good idea. Yeah. So, overall it was a good hike. Let me point out that in that bushwhack from Huckleberry Point back up to the moat, there was a significant amount of evidence of hunting in that area, from a tree stand to a hunter's shelter, if you will, built. I showed you a picture built on the ground with some camo material. Presumably they hide behind it and wait for animals or deer. I found a trail camera, checked out the videos or pictures it had recorded. I actually saw like a little animal run into a cave. I called out for the crone, but nobody answered. And that is all I have, except what's the new segment after recent hikes?
Post hikes, ticks and bites. Did you get a tick?
Yeah.
No shit. Where? Let me ask. I'm sorry to say where.
It was on my chest. One of my pectoral muscles.
No way.
Yeah. I think I caught him pretty early. He had started to burrow, and I pulled him out. And so in my house, we always have a handy prescription of doxycycline.
Wow.
So I'm on like day 3 of my doxy treatment. So actually, I brought him in because I'm going to pop one. It actually says right here on the
don't drink with alcohol.
The bottle. Yeah, it says take 1 a day with IPA. Well, right.
That's now we find the reason why Erik got the hell out of freaking New York, because the East Coast, because of goddamn ticks. Yeah, it's freaking ridiculous.
He has to worry about scorpions and rattlesnakes, but at least you can see them.
And mountain lions out there. Are you like, is that mountain lion area?
Yes. So the county I border is called Fremont County, and that has the largest concentration of mountain lions in the entire state. I have run into a handful of rattlesnakes, but only one summer. I haven't seen any beyond that. But you're right. You can see them. I've only had, I think, 1 or maybe 2 ticks on me ever, and those were both in the Catskills.
Yeah. Typical. Wow. So awesome, Tad. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just for a note, everybody, Tad parked at the Catskill area, Platte Cove area. That road going from Saugerties up is now closed. They closed it a little bit early, a couple days early, so you cannot go from Saugerties all the way up to the Platte Cove area. It is now closed to the Catskill High Peak area, but you can still get from there, from Tannersville and stuff like that, to the Catskill High Peak parking lot. So just want to let everybody know.
if you lived up there in the winter time, even if you didn't live up there, wouldn't it be a blast to go like tubing or sledding down that road?
Oh God, that'd be crazy.
Yeah, totally insane. You'd have to do it at night to make it even more fun. As if doing it in the daylight wasn't fun enough.
I don't know about that. That's a little crazy. You're getting a little crazy. Aren't you like older?
It's the Doxy. It's the Doxy. That's what's doing it, man.
It's the IPA that's talking.
Yeah, the Doxy IPA combo.
Yeah. So Catskill News, volunteer, New York, New Jersey Trail Conference, 3500 Club, Catskill Trail Crew, Catskill Mountains Club Visitor Center, Jolly Rovers Trail Crew. We love volunteering, stuff like that. We encourage it. So volunteer wherever you can. If you need a sticker, send me a message or your address. I will send it to you free of charge. So weather forecast for this weekend in the Catskills looks to be very beautiful, I would say. Winter conditions are here and there. We got snow today at where I live at 1,200 feet. So we got not even an inch of snow, but still it's snowing. And up in the Catskills, it probably will be sticking. A lot of people reported snow up there. So once again, dress for the colder weather. Bring your spikes. You know, you never know what you're going to encounter on those high peaks. So Friday looks to be partly sunny, mostly sunny, a high of 25, a low with wind chill of 1 degree. Beautiful. That's my kind of weather. Saturday, same thing, partly cloudy, a high of 46 later in the nighttime, and a low of 12 degrees in the morning with wind chill, but it's going to heat up later on. Not heat up, really. 23 degrees. It's not really heating up. Sunday looks to be a high of 39 in the morning with that little warm spell, and then it's supposed to be cooling down in the later evening, stuff like that, with wind chills being a -2, ranging temperatures ranging from the mid-30s to the low 20s. So get out there, have some fun, dress appropriately for the weather because it is winter time. It's not December 21st, but it is winter time. So layers, layers, layers. Know your layers. Be bold, start cold. Have fun. Enjoy the winter because it is nothing else. So, all right. So last set of sponsors, and then we'll get on to Erik. So let's go. Discover Camp Catskill in Tannersville, your ultimate hiking store. Find top quality gear, apparel, and accessories for all your outdoor adventures. The expert staff is here to help every hiker, from beginners to seasoned pros. We also carry a unique variety of Catskill souvenirs and gifts. Visit us online at campcatskill.co or in the store to gear up for your next journey. Adventure starts at Camp Catskill. Also, embark on a transformative journey with Another Summit. Another Summit is dedicated to serving veterans and first responders with free outdoor activities. Activities like walks in nature, paddling, hiking, and even backpacking. Join our supportive community to rejuvenate in nature's embrace. Experience camaraderie, adventure, and healing at no cost. Take your next step with Another Summit and ascend to new heights of resilience and joy. Apply today on anothersummit.org. Once again, thank you to our veterans for what they do and stuff. So apply today with Another Summit and do everything for free. So, all right. So let's get on to the guests of the night.
Let's go.
So tonight, Erik Schlimmer joins us. Am I saying that correctly? Everybody's last name is always different.
Yes, you nailed it. Thank you.
Good Lord God. So, you know what? I didn't write everything on there. Peak bagger, writer, author, adventurer, through hiker. What else? Mountain biker, road biker.
Coors Banquet beer drinker.
Right? Like,
Yes, canned beer connoisseur, and maybe a couple other things tossed in.
couple other things, a couple other, it's just.
So, well, let me just ask this. So when you meet somebody and they say, "Hey, Erik, what do you do for a living?" What's your answer?
I say I'm a therapist, and I just kind of leave it at that.
Okay.
Cool. All right.
Are you a licensed therapist?
Yeah, I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I've been practicing for about 7 years.
Excellent. Okay.
Excellent. Send me a link to that. I could put that on the show notes because I agree. I gotta think that therapy is a big thing. It's very strong. It's very helpful and stuff like that. So send me a link to your website that I can put that on the show notes. So
I will.
awesome. So how about a little background about yourself, Eric? You could go all in balls out from first when you were a kid to where you're coming up to where you are now.
Right. Well, I am a native New Yorker. I was born in Poughkeepsie in 1973. I'm really, that sounds like only in the last couple years, 1973 sounds so long ago. Like it
It
used to
does.
not sound that bad. Um, anyway, I was born in 1973 in Poughkeepsie, and I grew up riding BMX bikes. I didn't race, but that was all the thing. I had my Huffy Pro Thunder. I went on one hike when I was a kid. It was more like just a nature walk, and I really wasn't interested. So I was an urban kid growing up. And then I turned 12, and my parents decided to move to the Adirondacks. They had enough of the hustle and bustle of Poughkeepsie, and they wanted their proverbial home in the country. And so they dragged me and my big sister, I have a sister who's 4 years older, kicking and screaming to the Adirondack Mountains, because all we knew was an urban environment, roller skating rink, arcade, mall, total 80s. And they drag us this godforsaken outpost in the middle of nowhere. We moved to the town of Chester, which at the time only had 1,500 people. My graduating class was 32. It's really small. And I came to a fork in the road, and I said, well, do I want to hang out with my parents and big sister all through high school, or do I want to make some friends? And when in Rome, just do what they do. And the answer is obvious. So I started hanging out with friends, and everything they did was outside. There's no infrastructure to interact with. So mountain bikes had just come out, snowboards had just come out, skiing, camping, drinking canned beer around a campfire, fishing, ice fishing, hunting. I got into all that stuff because there simply wasn't anything else to do. I was forced into that decision. But in hindsight, it's the best thing that ever happened in my life. Absolutely. Because that's where I fell in love with the out of doors. And I've been fortunate enough that a lot of my career during the past 20, 30 years has been getting paid to be in the mountains. I was a backcountry ranger in the Adirondacks and Catskills, caretaker and ridge runner in the AT, trail builder and trail crew leader for a bunch of different organizations. And it was really nice to earn a living outside. But then I entered, I guess, a third phase of my life when I turned 40. And I still remember I was in a campground in the Catskills. I was working as a backcountry ranger, and I woke up in a leaky tent in a wet sleeping bag, which isn't that bad when you're 20. But I was friggin' 40, and I was like, dude, this is not going to work.
Right?
So
Yeah.
I became a field instructor and a lecturer at a handful of colleges. And then I got my master's in clinical social work. And here I am working as a therapist. So it was a great run. The way I describe it to people is I did my retirement first, which is great because all the trips I've done, like mountain biking from Canada and Mexico, climbing all these peaks in winter, do I really want to do that when I'm 55 or 60? Probably not. But I really want to do it when I was 20, 25, 30. I have a friend who's a ski bum in Lake Tahoe. He calls it the reverse retirement plan, which is friggin' genius. So you do your couch surfing and beer drinking and mountain climbing and backcountry skiing and seasonal jobs through your 20s and 30s, and then you grow up when you're 40. And here I am today.
Damn. Well then, 40 years old and you're kind of retiring. I do not see myself retiring for another 20 years, so I'm out. That's
Erik, if we could just talk about your work, clinical social worker, you have a private practice?
I do. I work for two people. I work for myself. So I see people on the side. It's just cash pay, very simple. And I also work for a national online practice. These are really big these days. You've probably seen the ads where they farm out the work to people like me. and offer national service on a national scale. So I do
Correct.
some work on the side and some work for a national practice.
Yeah. I asked that because in the last 6 years, I've come across quite a few people who have similar credentials professionally that you have. And that's what they do. And one of the things they like about it, it's a very portable practice because you can see or have your sessions with people virtually wherever you are. So you have a tremendous amount of flexibility and low overhead. So it's a pretty cool thing to get into. And I just bring that up because there are people out there who are searching for something to do that gives them that flexibility. And you're kind of like the, exhibit A or spokesperson for that lifestyle, that you're not chained to a cubicle or an office.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, really low overhead. You can do it anywhere as long as you have internet service.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could live the van life and be a therapist. It's just great. Yeah. Now there is a couple of draconian rules. So I'm licensed in the state of Colorado. The person I'm talking to must be physically in the state of Colorado, as am I. I would have to be here as well. But beyond that, it's pretty much free range, which I really appreciate.
So with that, I really appreciate it because you are, once again, we talk about Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, and that definitely helps out. Once again, your outreach helps us, get away from our the stuff on our shoulders and, the demons that we might have. So thank you, Erik. I really appreciate it. Didn't know that about you. So
my pleasure.
One of the things, what got you into the Catskills? You're right at the Adirondacks. You have all these slides, you have these open summits and stuff like that. What got you pushed down to the Catskill area?
Well, I was a very list-driven hiker in the 90s and into the early 2000s. So I would find a list of mountains and climb them, classic peak bagger. And I knocked off the Adirondack 46 in like the mid 90s, something like that. And I was so naive back then. I was like, well, I guess there's nothing left to do. It's like the sacred 46 has been accomplished. And then somebody's like, well, I think people climb like every 4,000 foot peak in the Northeast. And I was like, what? I just couldn't believe it. It's about 115 peaks back then. And they go, yeah, there are 2 in the Catskills. So if you're going to hike them all, you got to go down there. And I hiked Slide and Hunter. This is probably late 90s. And I was like, this is really cool. And what I noticed about the Catskills is they're shaped like the topography is not duplicated in the Northeast. These pretty steep sides, deep valleys, and flat summits. I just couldn't believe how flat and expansive the tops were compared to the Adirondacks, New Hampshire, Maine, and even Vermont. So I noted Slide and Hunter and what I had a good time on those. And then I eventually returned to hike more in the Catskills. So I hiked the 35 peaks above 3,500. Again, we're still in like, I think, late 90s. And then I ended up living near the Catskills, and I was kind of familiar with it from growing up in the Hudson Valley. And as happens in every range I explore, the more I explore it, the more I like it, and the more I want to explore it more. And so I had a good run in the Catskills of maybe 10 years of solid hiking, but not many people know this. I mean, I'm usually known for my hiking in the Adirondacks, and this is actually the first time I have a place to talk about the Catskills extensively. It's a great little range that I don't think gets enough press.
Yeah, agreed.
3 cheers.
Yeah, definitely. I can't help but agree that people drive by the Catskills, look to your left on 87 and see all that range, be like, nah, I'd rather go up to someplace with an open summit. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So, Erik, you said that the Catskills are not duplicated in the Northeast, and then you went on to describe them as having steep sides and flat summits. And what is it that made you make that observation about the Catskills? Because I think it has something to do about what you see elsewhere in the country, but not in the Northeast. Am I correct?
Yes, you are correct. The ranges out west, where I now live, are rather jagged. The 14ers that I can see out my window, they're all class 4. I mean, this is pretty rugged terrain out here. We do have a lot of flowing, easy summits that you could stroll up, but we have some summits that I like to say would be like a really ideal place to die. You would just fall off. I mean, they're quite treacherous. Even the Adirondacks can get rather rugged, but they're these massive, in general, rounded mountains. Look at Mount Marcy, the highest peak. It's just this dramatic dome.
Yep.
But you go to Slide, Hunter. I mean, we've got a peak called Table, right? We've got these really flat summits with these gorges, which they call cloves, and that's another thing I noticed about the Catskills, because I specialize in solving toponyms. So why are things in the woods named the way they are? And we have vlaes instead of swamps and cloves instead of gorges. And I like that Dutch influence. I think beyond the topography, the Catskills have a rather unique cultural indicator. It's farm country, not so much in the Adirondacks. The flat summits, not so much in New Hampshire. And you can make other comparisons that really make this range stand out. It's a really special place.
Yeah.
You see anything like it in the West, the Southwest, where you are now, or where you've been before?
Well, there is similar terrain, but there are no trees.
Yeah.
I mean, so we have, so you could strip the Catskills of every piece of vegetation, and it would look like Grand Junction, Colorado, up in the Northwest. It would look like some of the stuff we have here on the New Mexico border, but it's that combination of unique topography and at times looking like a South American jungle that really set it apart. It's just a cool place.
Yeah. So, I mean, you talk about topography, the cloves, stuff like that. Is that like what drew your interest besides, peak bagging in the Catskills, that these were definitely set apart from all the other ranges in the areas that, specifically the East Coast?
Yeah, it didn't bring me there, but I noticed it when I was there. Besides solving toponyms, I'm a writer. I like words,
Eric, describe toponyms. Like I'm not
Right.
I'm not as familiar as other people with toponyms.
Right, no problem. So the field I operate within, the umbrella term is onomastics. And you could be an onomastician. And that is somebody who studies how something got its name, not particularly the source of the word, where did the word itself come from, but why is it assigned to this? Why is it Poughkeepsie? Why is it Albany? Why is it the Appalachian Mountains? And under that is a subcategory toponyms, and that deals exclusively with natural features. So why is it Lake George? Why is it the Hudson River? Why is it Peakamoose Mountain? And that's my specialty. I also solve street names. So it's the complete opposite.
Jesus.
But I'm known for street name decoding and then toponym decoding. And I noticed these weird words. Like when I first saw Vlaai, I'd never heard of that. I didn't know what it was. And it's like, oh, it's Dutch for swamp. And it could be spelled about 4 different ways, right?
Jesus,
And then
I
we
didn't know
have-
that.
Yeah, it's Dutch for swamp. So what's interesting when you look at certain toponyms, if you have a keen eye and you know a little bit about this field, you can determine what culture, what nationality, however you want to put it, named those features. So there are no Vlais, none, in the central and northern Adirondacks. You're not going to find one, okay? You'll find more French names up there, right? So we've got the Dutch and the Catskills. In the Northwest, we've got the French, Northwest Adirondacks. We have the French. Northern Adirondacks, we have the French. And then it's mostly English and British for the rest of the range. So it's really interesting if you stumble across a weird word like vly or clove or kill. I mean, kill is just Dutch for stream. Then you can figure out more of the cultural history of the area. There's a lot behind every name that you see. And as I tell people, behind every name, there's a story, and the story is usually pretty good.
So you just dive deep into that story that you see the name and you just go deep into that.
Yes.
Okay. So now you talk about Bly and stuff. Where did Pikamoose come from? Do you know?
I don't know.
Okay,
And
it's crazy. Like, what the hell is Pikamoose?
right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm actually rather uneducated in Catskill toponyms. Okay. So I know where the slide used to be. It's overgrown on slide. All right.
Close.
And I know Tannersville is named because they used to tan leather there. Hunter is named for a person, not somebody who hunts. And so there are a couple that I know, but I just haven't looked into it. Now, it has crossed my mind in past years. Maybe I should write a toponym guide to the Catskills. It probably wouldn't be that difficult because it has such well chronicled history, but I was just doing other projects.
Well, please.
Yeah. That would be obviously for Stosh and I and our listeners. We totally dig that.
Oh,
But
fuck
until
yeah.
you author that book and publish it, do you have any interesting toponym stories about the Catskills that you can relate to us?
Yes, I could tell one brief one.
Sure.
And there are certain terms in this field, and one of the terms is name corruption. And how this works is the name that you see on the map is close to what it's supposed to be. Okay. And this happens far more often than people think. Okay. So it will go something like this. A surveyor, and they named a lot of features in the 1800s. It's mostly surveyors who name stuff. They had that freedom to do so. But they had the good taste to consult with locals. So if the hill behind some farmer's house already has a name locally, they'll stick with that. They're not going to name it for a political figure or something else outside the range. And so they'll go up to somebody, let's say it's a Dutch settler. They've got this funny accent that's like really difficult to understand. Maybe they're literate. And the surveyor will say, well, what is the name of that hill? And they'll say the word. The surveyor maybe doesn't completely hear it, but then there's also the problem. The surveyor's field notes are in cursive. It was this flowing, dramatic style of writing. An A looks like an O, an M looks like an N, a P looks like a Q. So by the time it goes back to the office in Albany, it's anyone's guess what the hell the name of this mountain actually is. So I'll give you an example. There's a low peak not far from Arkville, and it's called Kettle Mountain, Kettle. And then what happens if you're not a careful researcher, you'll make assumptions. Okay, never make an assumption with this type of work because the story's probably not what you think it is. So I was thinking, oh, it's like somebody found a kettle. You know, maybe the shape of the mountain is kettle, something like that. And then a good friend of mine, a Catskill historian, informed me the family that lived at the bottom of it was the Kittles. Okay, it should be Kittle Mountain. So that's an example of a name corruption. God only knows how many features are in the Catskills are off by a letter or two, but you would need to research it to find out.
Yeah.
So before we move on from the toponyms, and until your book comes out, which will probably be a New York Times bestseller, by the way.
Please.
Given all the the New York metro area listeners, where is the best place for people to do research on Catskill names other than just Googling something? Is there some website that specializes in this intel?
Mm-hmm.
So tell us, please.
He doesn't want to give it away. What the
No,
hell
give
are you
it up.
talking
Give it
about?
up.
Well, I'll be more than happy to share it because I'll share it because then when you get into it, anybody's going to be like, holy shit, this is way more work than I thought it was going to be. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've solved over 1,000 names in the Catskills. I don't think, I mean, all right, some like the High Peaks, Mount Marcy, Gothics, Lake George, stuff like that. You can just Google it. Why is Lake George named Lake George? It's probably going to get it right. All right. But about 96%, it's not on Google. It's so esoteric that it's not going to be there. Or it gets it wrong. So I've actually tested this with AI. And I'll play dumb. And I'll say, do you know why this is named that? And the answer is I've never gotten a correct answer for an obscure name. It just hasn't happened. Okay. So there are two main sources. Okay. The first is maps. So if I'm going to solve something, I go to old maps. And there are a lot of really good old map websites out there. Okay. I do that for two reasons. One, it may have a different name than it does today.
Correct.
Okay. So Kettle Mountain, if you look at an old map, it might say Kittle. All right. So that gives you, okay, if that's the original name, that's the direction I got to go. Okay. Also, it will give you a naming window. Okay. So if I see a Lincoln Peak and I was like, oh, it's probably named for Abraham Lincoln, and it was named Lincoln Peak when Lincoln was 5 years old. Okay. I can eliminate that. All right. So I find the original name in a naming window. And then I go into this incredible website. I mean, you could spend the rest of your life just perusing this website, archive.org. Archive.org scans books that have gone beyond their copyright date. So in general, you write a book, it's published, it doesn't go to your heirs. I think it's 80 years after your death, it enters the public domain. Archive.org has millions of documents, okay? And one of the most important documents that they've uploaded is, not many people know this. Back in the day, 1800s, it was a thing for each county to have like a 2,000-page county history. Every county in the Adirondacks except Hamilton has one. I'm sure everything in the Catskills and Adirondacks have one. They were written generally before the Civil War. There were some state gazetteers as early as 1813. And a lot of these tell you why it's named that, or you can put two and two together, right? So if I've got Tannersville, there's a peak towering over it with a personal name. I read the history, and the first town supervisor has the same name as a peak. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna go down this road now. So the short answer is maps, county histories, and then after that, the real work begins on the ones that those two sources did not help me.
Wow. That's
Very cool.
exactly like just going down that rabbit hole of doing all this research. I see some of the stuff, I do on topo maps that brings up, 50 years ago when something was differently named. Like, it just like Ashokan High Point is also named High Point, is also named Samuels, something like that.
Yep. Yeah, Sam's Point.
Yeah, Sam's Point somewhat. And then it has the summit marker that says Samuels or something. And
Well, Sam's Point is actually
it's to the east of
west of Moonhaw Road.
yes, but it's the east of Wittenberg.
Yeah,
East,
but it's not
southeast.
part of Ashokan.
Yeah, but still, it says on the summit marker, it says
Yeah.
Samuels.
Yeah. Well, we all know how America got named, so
Yeah, and then you have like some places like the High Point. What's it called? The Knob is also named like Little High Point. I've heard. God, what was the other name my friend said?
Big Tad Mountain.
Yeah, that too. But like once again,
Just joking.
you go down these like little rabbit holes, and all of a sudden you're like, these things have 8 names. What the hell is this? So Eric, just like your research has got to be like, wow, mind blowing, but also kind of like crazy just to think that 8 different names of this certain peak, and you can tell people this story like us. Like, wow, I'm just some of this like Bly, I didn't know that was swamp. Like, that's crazy. I mean, it is on a flat spot that
Yeah.
kind of
Well,
shitty.
but you do see on a lot of maps, they areas that they do refer to, like the Vly, which is a swamp area on the map. So I can see that. I didn't know it until we had Erik on the show.
Yeah,
That's
right.
very cool. No, now we know.
Yeah.
Vly, swamp, kill, river.
Dutch, stuff like that. So also, Erik, you are a pretty crazy adventurer. So in 2008, you called this a hellacious route through the Catskill 35 peaks. In 6 days, 140 miles, 42,000 feet of climbing with only, I put this on the show notes with capital fucking letters, 8.6 pounds of gear. That is a big kind of like, what the actual, I don't even carry below 30 pounds during a normal day hike. How did this go about planning stuff like that? Holy shit. Like, tell us about that.
Yeah, my first long hike was in 95. I hiked the Northville Placid Trail up in the Adirondacks, and I did the Vermont Long Trail, then the Florida Trail, and a couple others, and just really fell in love with long distance hiking. There's just something special about that rhythmic. You just get up and walk, and then you go to bed, and you get up and walk. It's just so meditative, so relaxing. It has a purpose, right? And humans are just natural walkers. That's what we've been doing since the dawn of time. But I'd never pieced together, I think this was the first time I pieced together my own route, which is what I do now. I don't really hike established long trails. I just kind of piece together stuff or find a really obscure trail. Well, I had already hiked the 35 peaks, and I was like, just looking at a map. And I was like, well, it's like they're not that far apart. You know, you can go on this ridge and grab maybe 5 or 6, and then, all right, well, you got to walk a road for a mile or two, but then you're back in the woods, and you could get from peak to peak without a trail, you know, just bushwhack down and back up the other. And so I planned this all out in 2008. And I started it in the southeast corner at the base of Table and Peekamoose. And then I ended on Windham High Peak. And it was actually a pretty practical route. I really didn't have to backtrack that much. I averaged not a lot of mileage. I think it was about 24 miles a day. But the climb, I mean, for such a small range, I think I averaged, what would it be, 7,000 vertical feet a day? Yeah, 7 times 6 is 42.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. Like, anybody out west, if, you know, here in Colorado, you're like, oh, I hiked all these 3,500 foot peaks, they would laugh at you, right? And they would think that they would come out and smash this record, right? But they wouldn't, because once you get there, you realize what you're getting into. So it's amazing that to cover these 35 peaks to top 4,000, barely, you're climbing 42,000 vertical feet. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So long story short, I started in the southeast corner and ended on Windham. It's still one of my favorite trips. It's probably in the top 5 or 6. At the time, I didn't think anyone had done it. I didn't hear about it. I worked as a backcountry ranger there. No one was telling me about it. But this was actually done by 2 young men a long time ago. I want to say early, mid 70s, like maybe 1980. And they went out beforehand. These 2 young guys, they're like fresh out of high school. And they went out and stashed some food and some water and did it. And they actually did it faster than me. I think they did it in less than 5 days. I mean, these guys were just going for it. But mine was the first solo traverse of it. What I would like to see is, I'm kind of scaling back my adventures now. I would love to see somebody do it in the winter. And I don't think it would be incredibly difficult, especially if you did it in March. You've got some deep snow. It's already gone through a couple thaws. That would be awesome. People have repeated what I've done since in the pursuit of the fastest known time. Totally smoked me. But I really wasn't doing it for raw speed. I mean, my last night, I camped near the summit of Blackhead. I could have easily finished that day, so it would have been 5 days. But I was out there to enjoy this kind of tour de force of the entire range. I'll never regret that trip. One of my favorites.
So, Eric, you're kind of like out there doing all these really interesting and wild things, yet you say that your 6 days hiking nonstop through the Catskill 3,500 peaks makes your top 5 list. Why is that?
I like doing things that are special. So at the time, I was under the impression I was the first one, but I was the second. And that's pretty cool to be the second person to do something. I mean, how many things are people doing nowadays, just not hiking, where you're like the first or second or third one to ever do it? Just so much has been done, but especially in long distance hiking and peak bagging, it's getting close that everything has been done. So I like that unique sense of it. And I had done a lot of day hiking, but you really don't have to do many overnights in the Catskills. It's just so accessible. Just do a bunch of day hikes. And that was my first extended trip over mountains on a route that I made myself, right? So it was kind of, I think it was a change in my style of hiking. All right. So yeah, you can hike the long path and that's cool. And I did before this hike. But then to go out and do it, and you're not going to meet anyone else who's doing it.
Yeah.
I was the only one out there doing it. That's pretty cool. And it's not for my ego. It's not for accolades. You know, if somebody saw me and they're like, what are you doing? I'm just like, I'm hiking. And I didn't even tell them what I was doing. I think it's important to be unique.
Yeah.
I
Very
mean,
cool.
unique is 8.6 pounds of gear.
Yeah.
What the hell were you carrying?
In 2008.
Yeah. That's like extreme ultra light in 2008. I don't even think that was introduced at then.
Yeah, it wasn't that popular, at least in the Northeast. The Northeast has been a little slow catching on to the lightweight approach. People out West had been doing it before. Now, I thought you were going to ask me about the list. Believe it or not, what I have in front of me is my gear list from the trip.
Nice.
I wrote this in 2008. Do you want to hear what I brought?
Absolutely.
Sure, let's do it.
Okay. Well, you know I did it a long time ago because the first thing here is a Go Light pack. And Go Light has been out of business for like 15 years. Okay. So I had a Go Light pack, and I'll make this quick, but I had a Go Light pack and it's frameless. Okay. It doesn't have an internal frame or anything like that. I had a ground sheet. So first I classify this. Let me back up for a sec. I classify my list into a couple different categories: home, kitchen, clothing, extras. Okay, that's how I kind of organize it.
Perfect.
So for home, I've got a Go Light pack. I've got a ground sheet, which is a contractor's garbage bag. I've got a Z-Rest, which I cut down so it just fits my torso. It's ridiculous. I have back then I had a Western Mountaineering Highlight sleeping bag. Very expensive. It's the Ferrari of sleeping bags, but it's really comfortable. And I just bring a small tarp. Every night I strung it up in a low A-frame style. This was in May before the bugs were out. I did cook every night. I don't really cook much in the woods anymore. And back then I took a tuna can and I got a metal grinder and I ground a bunch of holes in it. And then I would put an Esbit fuel tablet inside. And then my pot stand was a piece of chicken wire.
Jesus.
The whole stove was like 8 cents. So I had a tuna can Esbit stove. Okay, so that was pretty cool. And then I brought 2 seltzer bottles. Okay, so that was my entire kitchen and home. And it's like less than 2 pounds. Okay. For clothing, I bought an extra pair of socks, a thermal top, thermal bottoms, baseball hat, winter hat, and a rain jacket. That was it. That's all you really need.
No puffy or anything like that. It's for the cold weather.
No, because what I was thinking is either I'm hiking or sleeping.
Okay.
Right. So either I'm in or out of my sleeping bag. And then the extras, a ditty bag, which is just, a bag of chapstick and a headlamp and a lighter and some duct
Toothpaste and
tape.
wipes, hopefully.
Pardon?
Toothpaste and wipes for like pooping and stuff.
Had some wipes. I
Nice.
never go
Okay.
into the woods without Gold Bond. So I had a little bit
Yes.
of Gold Bond. That stuff's a miracle worker. So Gold Bond, wipes, some TP, and some Vaseline for chafing. And I would also put a thin coating of Vaseline on my feet. I brought a camera. At the time, I had a small tripod and a digital camera. And there you go. I even weighed them, 12 baby wipes. This here totals 9.0, but I think that's off a little. So it was a little bit less than 9. The lightest I've ever gone, I did a really fast hike on the Northfield Pass Trail, and that was 7 even.
Wow.
Which is crazy because some internal frame packs probably weigh like 5.
Yeah.
But this is a philosophy. It's a question I asked when I started getting into this years ago. Do I want to be infinitely comfortable always? Or do I want to be kind of uncomfortable at night and super comfortable during the day? I'd rather be
Wow.
super comfortable during the day.
That's
Because you're tired enough to fall asleep
yeah, to
regardless.
pass the fuck out.
Right. And that's the other thing. I mean, I think my biggest day was almost 8,000 vertical feet. I could have been laying on broken glass. I would have fell asleep. You know, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That is a fantastic like comparison of the two. Do I want to be comfortable during the day or just like Tad said, pass out during the night and you're not comfortable?
And, yeah. And you did this before what most hikers are accustomed to at the present time, having navigation, GPS on your phone, social paths or herd paths guiding you along, etc. So back then, were you signing into the canisters on the Trailless Mountains?
Yeah.
Yep. I signed into the canisters and it was all just map and compass work. So I had probably some USGS maps.
Yeah.
And my trusty Silver Ranger compass.
Wow.
Which
6 days.
Yeah. Which I miss. I was going through some gear here. It's around here. Oh, it's right over there. I found my old Silva Ranger compass.
Yeah.
And it was a walk down memory lane. Out here, I use a phone. Why not? And you can see everything anyway. You don't really need to navigate out here. But for those who are listening who have not just done raw map and compass work navigating, it's so rewarding.
Yeah.
It sounds unnecessary and complex, but it's just cool. I had a New York State Forest Ranger, he was my neighbor, teach me in 1986 how to use a map and compass. He's a Vietnam veteran too. And I was blown away that with just this paper map and this compass, I can go anywhere, always arrive at the destination, and never get lost. It's amazing that such simple technology is so almost foolproof in the mountains. Just nobody really uses map and compass anymore. It's a lost era.
Yeah. It stinks. And, like you said, rewarding as heck, just, getting up to the peak, like, oh my God, this is, we're at the high point of, Cheryl. Like, how did I get up here by myself without any freaking, navigational technique, but back and compass that they did back in the days? Fantastic. So,
yeah. Well, one of my assessments with map and compass work is that it brings you to the realm of delayed gratification. Because when you take out your map, your compass, maybe an altimeter, and whatever else you have to use other than GPS, you're really not sure where you are at that moment in time, typically until you get to the next place, which confirms where you came from. And it's just kind of cool. I've been using those rudimentary instruments for decades, and I still like doing it. Yeah.
I use it once in a while, but like I'll use technology when I need it, but when I want that satisfactory of being like, I'm real, I'm alive, I am my own self. I will use map and compass just to be like, damn, I could do this. You know, why the heck not? You know, what do you got? What do you got to lose? In the Catskills, it's a great place to use map and compass because, you know, you could get somewhat lost and then just follow drainage and you're to a house, you're to a road and stuff like that within 3-4 miles. So it's pretty cool.
All right, so I'm just going to go right in order here. Erik, you did a little redlining, or you did all the redlining in the Catskills. Is that true?
It is. That was probably around 2008, something like that. And I'm not, there's a quote by Groucho Marx that goes something like, I would never be a member of a club that would accept me as a member. I've never really been active in the hiking community. I've been rather isolated. I didn't even know, I didn't even know the term redlining. Like I had never heard of it. I didn't know people hiked entire trail systems. So I was just kind of out there doing it. And years later, I found that I was the probably third one
Wow.
to redline the Catskills. But at the time, I was like, I don't know, I'm kind of bored. I guess I'll just hike every trail. At the time when I finished, is like 2009, I think. I counted 324 miles of trails. It's around that number on the official roster. I had quite a few done already, working as a backcountry ranger, hiking the 35 peaks. By then, I probably had hiked the 100 highest as well. So I had quite a few under my belt. And what was really cool is, and people who do redline trails, I think the most common refrain is they're like, yeah, I went to this place like I never even heard of. Like, yeah, there are trails up Blackhead and Slide and stuff like that. But the Western Catskills is like no man's land. There are no 3,500-foot peaks. So there's really like no reason to go there. And so you end up in, Shandaken Wild Forest and these kind of more off the grid places. And it was a lot of fun because I was exploring lands that I didn't even know were in the Catskill Park. And that is the cool thing about redlining. I have a friend who just finished White Mountain National Forest, which is really impressive. They have like 1,200 miles.
Yeah.
And he's a native. He grew up there. And he's like, dude, I went to places like I didn't even know they existed. And he also worked for the Forest Service. And he was like, yeah, I was just out in the middle of nowhere on these trails that no one's ever heard of. So that's the cool thing. If you want to get off the 3,500-foot peaks and away from the fire towers, redlining is a great way to get that done.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm inside of 2 miles away from finishing my Catskill redlining project.
Nice.
And just like you said, it's the beauty of it is it takes you to areas of the Catskills that have a completely different texture and feel than what we call the high peak areas. And not only is the topography obviously different, but the forest, the fauna, you go through these fern groves where the ferns are shoulder high.
Oh, I love those.
The one thing I remember saying, and this is not going to impress Erik at all, man who hikes amongst the rattlesnakes. But my only experience stepping into a snake ball has been redlining in the Western Cats. And at the time, I didn't know what a snake ball was, and I looked it up afterwards, and it's kind of an interesting thing. Snake ball. So
I don't know what the hell a snake ball is.
Snake ball. That's where it's like a snake orgy. Okay.
Oh, Jesus.
There's like, half a dozen or more snakes all wound up in a ball having sex in the forest of all places. I mean, damn
Good
them.
Lord.
Why don't they take it, into a cave at least?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So when you're walking through one of these fern groves and you step down and you feel something different and you look down and you see it's just like nothing but this swarm of snakes naked. They're naked. They're not wearing any clothes, having unprotected sex out in the woods. Wild.
Jesus.
Okay. Back to Erik.
So you were a backcountry ranger in the Catskills, correct?
I was for, I want to say 2 seasons, but I think it was 1.
So what does that involve? Backcountry ranger? We've heard of like now I think it's called, is it the same thing as assistant forest ranger?
Yeah, same thing, AFR. So I did 2 seasons up in the Adirondacks and the Western High Peaks. It's like the Seward Range, Santanonis, Cold River, Long Lake, and absolutely loved it. I got paid to hike and canoe, really nice. Then I was building trails in other parts of the country, returned to New York, and I was like, well, I'm really into this Catskill thing. I'll apply there. And I got the high peaks. I was in Slide Mountain Wilderness area, patrolling a lot, Wittenberg, Cornell, Slide, working for the DEC, and working for a really nice forest ranger who now is a captain. Just a great guy to work for. It's kind of
Who's that?
a crapshoot because you work one-on-one in these remote areas, and I got a really nice guy.
What's his name?
This is Kenny.
Kenny. Oh, yeah, I'm
my
sorry.
God, how do I not know his name?
Let me look it up on my phone because I probably have him. So, but yes, go.
Yeah.
So you're working in the area. How was it? When was this? The time frame that you were a backcountry ranger?
This was 2005.
Oh wow!
2005.
So way before the boom and stuff like that happened. What was it
Right.
like back then? I mean, back then. I mean, it's 20. I mean,
20
God
years ago.
damn! I hate that. I hate saying that. Back then, 20 years ago. What the fuck?
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny you mentioned back, it being so long ago. When I do this math, I'm always a decade off. I'm like, oh, 2005. I think that was like 10 years ago. And then somebody's like, dude, that was like 20 years ago. So anyway, that is the highest use area for hiking in the Catskills, the Cornell Wittenberg Slide Corridor, as they say. I had a lot of trail building experience before I moved into backcountry work. So I actually asked for tools, and while I was out, cleaned out drainages, replaced some bog bridging, did a lot of side cutting, clearing out trails. I just really like trail work. And I think it gave the DEC a good face, right? So I wasn't just out there to tell you you can't camp here. I'm also maintaining these trails that you really enjoy. And a lot of people were thankful for that. So I had mostly positive interactions. I'm a pretty chill AFR. I have no enforcement powers. I mean, I don't think they know that. I'm like, can you please not do this? Can you please not have a fire here? Please don't camp here. And it was more of an educational than enforcement tone. So occasionally I would find somebody camping illegally. And like maybe they knew, maybe they didn't. I don't know. It's 5 o'clock. I'm like, look, dude, I'm going to come back here at dawn and you need to be gone and just leave it better than you found it, man. Because I don't want to keep coming back. Oh, yeah, no problem, no problem, no problem. I come back, they're gone. The place looks great, right? And now they're like, yeah, they're probably going to tell their friends, yeah, you can't really camp up there. The ranger's up there, but he's pretty chill and he'll be able to work with you. I like that vibe. So I did a lot of trail work, but just also a lot of public education. I could have just done day hikes, but I chose to stay overnight. So it's a 5-day work week, 2 days off. And then the height of the summer, I think we went to 10 days on, 4 days on.
Wow.
And as long as I had enough radio batteries, I'm going out for 9 nights. Goodbye. And that's what they really liked because they had AFRs in the past. Or like, oh, I want to see my girlfriend in Middletown. I was single. And I was like, dude, I'll just go and stay in the woods and do whatever you want. And they really appreciated that.
Wow. That sounds, I mean, it's great for, once again, you talk about 2005, the difference in that, would you say it's an insane difference? I know we have increased, of course, the number of visitors in the Catskills since, of course, the pandemic and stuff, but like the outreach, do you think it's kind of the same? We have kind of like the same vibe as well. People just want to help other people and to get them educated.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I believe that vibe's still alive. I mean, yeah, you could be a hard ass and like issue someone a ticket for what? It's like they're not going to learn. They're going to be pissed at you. They're going to badmouth the DEC. It's just not a good look. Now, if I did encounter somebody, and this happened a couple times, like the campsite is trashed. They have cut down trees. They have a fire. I would call my supervisor, Kenny, who I still cannot remember the last name of.
Gearloff.
And what's that?
Kenny Gearloff.
Kenny Gearloff, of course. Great guy. I love Kenny Gearloff. And he's listening. Kenny, you're a great guy. So anyway, Kenny has a very imposing appearance. Like his haircut, it looks like a felt tip pen. He's a former Marine.
Yep.
And he just, but he is very smart and knows how to talk to people. But if I did call him and I say, hey, look, ma'am, I'm in the middle of nowhere. I think everybody's drunk. They've got a bonfire, whatever. He would be there at the crack of dawn. And there's no mistaking who is in charge when you screw up the Catskill Mountains and Kenny Gearloff shows up. He could drop the hammer, but most of the time that was not necessary. It's more of a casual tone and more educational because a lot of people just didn't know. Like I would find somebody camping on Slide and I'm like, what are you guys doing? And they're like, what do you mean? Like they had no clue. And I'm like, look, man, this like doesn't fly up here. Just leave tomorrow morning. All right, cool. Problem solved.
Yeah. And that's, that's the way hopefully they're taught. Once again, that's why Gearloff is a captain now.
Yeah.
Because, he has such a great vibe and stuff like that. Slade is a lieutenant now. Once again, these forest rangers and the assistant forest rangers are taught a certain vibe to educate instead of like enforce. That's what they want to do is educate these people, and it's more of respect that the people come up with within the mountains. They don't want to be like, get the fuck out of here or you're going to get fined. They're going to be more like, hey, once again, we can't build a fire up above here because it's going to start a forest fire. Let's move down 400 feet below 3,500 feet, and you can, have your forest fire and have a good time. Like, what? Thank you once again for doing that. Because once again, education is key. And that's, it's a big reason why I did this podcast, because I want to spread that education as well as having a good time with people like you and stuff. So once again, thank you for doing that time. That was great. It's fantastic. So glad you had a good time.
Yeah, got paid for it.
It's hard to complain when you're getting paid to hike.
Yeah. So I don't know if you ran into it back then, but tell us if you did. Apparently a popular thing now in the Catskills is to go hiking and take a few psychedelics with you. You ever encounter that back in your days?
I did not encounter that. It sounds, I'm believe it or not, I'm a pretty anxious person. So the first thing I think of is like somebody breaking their ankle or falling off something, Yeah. And so to each their own. It's probably not a good idea because from my experience working as a trail builder, backcountry ranger, people create enough problems for themselves sober. Okay. So I can only imagine the problems they may create not sober. To each their own. I never encountered it, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's happened, I think 2 out of the past 3 years in the Catskills. Hikers have gotten into trouble in the sense that either injured or, debilitated and, couldn't get out of the woods, lost, disorientated.
Oh.
Yeah, as a result of the use of, trying to enhance their outdoor experience through the use of psychedelics. But moving along to more mundane topics, if you will, is it true that you've hiked all 387 mountains and peaks in the Catskills above 2,000 feet? Wow. What was that experience like? I mean, and you earlier on, you told us you were list orientated, but obviously this is not like a club list or a public list. I'm assuming this is a list that you made and you checked off all the boxes. So what motivated you to do that? And what was that experience like?
Right. So the best of my knowledge, this club still has one member, and that would be
But a
me.
hell of a patch, right? You did it for the patch.
Yeah, yeah. I did it for the bragging rights.
Yeah.
The sticker. So I remember how this started.
Mhm.
So this was in 2010. I finished this. So up until then, I had hiked the 100 highest, the Catskill 3,500 footers in one go. Did them in winter. By then, I may have also hiked the 100 highest in winter, the red lining. So I was just kind of running out of stuff. And I was so obsessed with the Catskills. At the time, I was living in Oneonta, so on the north side, foothills. I mean, the Catskills are right there, well beyond the park boundary, but it's still the Catskills.
It's still
And
an
I
hour and a
was-
half away. Hour and a half.
Yeah. Yeah, not many people know. I mean, the Catskill Mountains are double the size of the park. Like the park only protects half the range. It's a really big range.
Yeah.
And I was fretting over what I wanted to do next. And my girlfriend at the time, who I lived with in Oneonta, she threw up her arms. She was tired of me talking about the Catskills. And she goes, you know what? Why don't you just go hike every mountain? Aha. But it backfired on her because I said, I think I will.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah.
Challenge accepted, madam. So I have not hiked every mountain, but pretty damn close. So I had hiked, of course, it started with the 4,000 footers way back in the day, then the 35, and then the 100 highest. So just keep going lower. And I said, well, I have no idea how many 2,000 footers are. So this is back in the day where I didn't have any computer mapping skills or anything, but the college I worked at had a library with every single topographic map of New York State stored away, which no one looked at, by the way. So I went up there and I pulled every single map of the entire Catskill Range, which is massive, and found every peak above 2,000 feet. So to count, it needed to rise at least 200 feet on all sides. So for every single mountain, I also had to count every single contour line. And then there were probably another 200 or 300 peaks that I eliminated because I counted the contour lines and it just didn't rise enough. So this list, which I still have here on Excel on my laptop that I'm talking to you with, 387 peaks above 2,000 feet. And it's the whole friggin' range. I mean, in the north, you're looking down on I-88. In the east, you're looking down on 87. In the south, the cutoff was the Delaware River. And I think the western boundary was also the Delaware. Yeah, it was probably the Delaware over there as well, or maybe a broad valley. And so I had the top 100 done. So I had 287 left to go. What's cool about this list, at least I thought it was cool, is it did take me to far-flung places, but I'm guessing 80 peaks are on private land. They're all in the west. So Stamford, Courtright, all these tiny little it's like it's the towns that time forgot. It's these really cool remote areas, dirt roads. And believe it or not, all but one time I was given permission to hike. Now, what's interesting is there are some private peaks in the Catskills, the Adirondacks. Up there, I climbed every peak above 2,500. There are 601. I received permission once. It was the opposite, right? So up there, I didn't get permission. Down here, I did. And I really appreciated that. And a lot of people were even like, wait, what? What are you doing? And I was like, it's every 2,000 foot peak. Well, how many? 387. How many left? I was like, dude, I got like 50 left. They're like, oh my God, do you have like a website or a blog? They were really enthusiastic about it. And all but one gave me permission. And it's these old recovering farmland peaks. I mean, a lot of them, you'll go to the top. There's like a tractor from the 30s, stone walls from the 1800s, hand dug stone lined wells, first growth forest, blackberry fields, blueberry fields, really, really neat. Now, none of them were difficult. A lot of these peaks are rising, I mean, below the 100 highest. A lot of these peaks are rising 4, 5, 600 vertical feet. But especially in the winter, you would get on top, leaves are off the trees, and the view was absolutely amazing. And then, yeah, finished in 2010, all 387 peaks.
Wow. That's impressive.
So was it worth the effort?
Yeah, right.
It was. It
Why?
was.
Why?
Yeah.
Because it was the
People
winter
were-
and you didn't have to deal with the blueberries and the vines and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. So was it worth the effort? Most of the time.
Mhm.
Okay. A lot of these peaks, oh my God, the briars are just unreal. And these briars really aren't growing at 3,000 feet. They're definitely not up around 4,000 feet. And it's this recovering farmland. So there are quite a few mountains. I kind of learned more about the vegetation in different parts of the park, and I left those peaks for winter. It would be
Mhm.
almost impossible to push through them. This thick vegetation looks like friggin' Guatemala in the summer, so I left a lot to for winter.
I mean, I could agree with that because just some of this place is just like you said, old logging areas and stuff like that, old pastures that have just been rebirthed or stuff like that, and just it's just vines, pricker bushes, thick than like I wouldn't say that's worse than mountain laurel, but it's pretty. I would have to say if you're going to do it in the summer, you are a psycho, a freaking psycho.
Right. There was also stinging nettles, and I'm severely allergic to poison ivy.
Oh,
Sounds like, yeah, that's not going to happen in the summer.
not in the Catskills.
No.
So what's your, I know there's a few listeners who are working on the 100 highest that entails getting permission from private landowners to hike many of those mountains. What's your pro tip for them to approaching a landowner other than showing up in your DEC issued uniform?
When I work with clients as a therapist, we talk about what people like and what people don't like. What are people's preferences? A preference that is global, it's a global value, is authenticity. I've never been to Saudi Arabia or any random country like that. You show up and you're full of shit, they're going to detect it and they don't like you. Like, that's it. Authenticity is a universal value. So I would show up and I'd talk to them like this. There were a couple small things I did which I think went a long way. Since I was living locally, I told them where I live. And I worded it so it's like, we're basically neighbors. I'm in South Courtright or somewhere, and I'm like, yeah, I just live up in Oneonta. And they're like, oh, okay. I go, and it was kind of difficult to articulate what I'm doing because you even say it to a hiker, they're like, what are you doing? This is like just a dude, like a farmer, like a cow farmer who lives out in the middle of nowhere. And I'd be like, yeah, I live in Oneonta and I'm working on climbing. And to keep it simple, I said, I'm climbing every mountain in the Catskills. And there are about 400. And I have a few left. And one's on your property. And I'm wondering if you will grant me permission to hike it. And then I added, and you will never see me again.
Yeah.
It's a one and done. And I go, and I'm not telling anybody. All right. This is just between me and you. I run up, I come back, you never see me again. I'm gone. And they like that because some are a little resistant because they're like, what's he going to do? Come back and be like, oh yeah, it's this great hike. You should go ask him. Right. So I was given permission and they're like, well, how long is it going to take? I'm like, I'm a fast hiker. I also said, I totally know what I'm doing. I'm a fast hiker. I'm up, gone, and I'm gone. And then they're like, all right, that's cool. The other thing I did, and I don't even know if they picked up on it, but I thought it was important. I would always leave my car, all four windows down, and the key in the ignition. And I think some noticed that and noticed that I trust them. Okay. It wasn't standoffish. It was just, and when I'm out, I'm like, hey,
Wow.
man, keys are in it. You need to move it, do whatever. I don't care. And they're like, oh, no, you don't have to do that. I was like, yeah, do whatever you want, man. I'm like, oh, and then
Here I have to interrupt because I need to know, what were you driving? Like a Ferrari or a beater?
no, at the time I had a lot of problems with my Ferrari. It was constantly in the shop.
Yeah,
So what I
heard
usually
that.
I drove my backup car.
hmm
I had two cars during that era. One was a 1995 Subaru Loyale wagon. It's
Wow.
basically a toaster oven with four wheels. That's what I had. Or I had a 1995 Toyota Camry.
Oh,
And that, who knows, that might have helped me because I kind of looked like the common man. You
Mhm.
know, I didn't show up with a $500 Arc'teryx jacket. You know, I have like a Dickies work shirt that's torn up, and I wasn't trying to look like I'm
Yeah.
from there. It's just I am from there, right?
So you
I
wouldn't
kinda had, like,
show up in a
country-
Tesla as an example.
Right? Yeah,
Yeah,
you could
definitely
pull up
no
in the Tesla.
Teslas.
You might want to borrow your cousin's Subaru Loyale.
Yeah,
asshole.
or just an old Jeep Wrangler.
Listen.
So
Times
anyway,
are different.
I think what went farthest with them is kind of chill,
Mhm.
authentic. I need 1/2 hour of your life, and you'll never see me again. And I think they like that.
And I get the sense you look more like a farmer than a hiker.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm wearing Dickies work pants. I've got like some, I don't know, Coors Light hat or something. You know, it's like,
Or John
kind of
Deere.
looks like a country guy.
And
Yeah.
at that time, even at this time, the people who own these properties would be like, why the hell would you want to hike up to this area? It's full of freaking prickers. It's just,
Yeah.
there's no view. Like, what are you talking about? Like, and it's just, that time, 2010, there was more trust. Like you said, you
Mhm.
left like your whole trust and stuff.
Mhm.
Now at times people are scared shitless that they're going to get some sort of like lawsuit against them and stuff.
Mhm.
My friend whose father lives right below kind of like Mount Uncianta, the Mooresville Range. He was like, hey, can I hike your mountain really quick? I just want to tag this, for my 200 highest. And he has no intention of doing the 200 highest. He just wanted to hike. And they said, no, I need $20. And he's like, 20 friggin' dollars.
No.
Like my father or my stepfather lives right over here. Like, and it was so odd. And I just, at sometimes times have definitely changed, once
Mhm.
again. It's really odd, and then I'm grateful that you could have this experience. Like doing the 200 peaks. You have the confidence to go to ask for permission. They give you
Mhm.
permission. Once again, you look like one of these normal hikers instead of like you drive up in a Range Rover or something like that. And you're like, I'm ready to finish the list. Give me permission, or I will. No, to respect. It's all about respect.
Mhm.
And once again, if people are doing this, which you need to gain respect of the people that you're doing. It's a tough task nowadays as well. So awesome. So 387 peaks above 2,000 peaks, or above 2,000 feet. That's incredible. So what is your favorite view below 2,000 feet or 3,000 feet? There's pretty many.
Yeah. I don't think I'm able, all the peaks kind of blend the same in my memories. A couple times, you may have noticed I've mentioned Courtright, South Courtright. This is south of like Harper's Field and Stamford.
Northern Catskills.
Northern Catskills. And I think it's the most beautiful place in the Catskills. I mean, if you like big peaks, you got to go over in the eastern part of the range. A lot of history, a lot of old barns, a lot of old farmhouses. A lot of people don't lock their doors. A lot of cows.
Yeah.
And a lot of dirt roads. No stoplights, no streetlights. There's just really not much out there. Those are my fondest memories. And a lot of those peaks are kind of high. You're getting up around 2,600 feet. And again, especially in the winter, you only need to be a little bit higher than the surrounding peaks, and it's this commanding view. Now, there are a couple smaller peaks in the eastern Catskills. Samuel's Point, I think, is below 3,000. There are a couple peaks around Woodstock, and those are really cool because you can look down into the Hudson Valley. And the Hudson Valley is one of the most beautiful valleys on Earth. I mean, it's just gorgeous. Especially in the winter where you can look down and just see this dramatic vertical relief. So I choose either end. Over by South Courtright, ask a farmer, can I go up your hill? He says yes, probably. And then these little peaks on state land where you can look down in the valley. It's pretty dramatic. And what a difference in topography, culture, expectations, views, just in about those 80 or 90 miles that separate those two regions. It's pretty diverse.
Yeah. Vegetation.
Yeah.
That's what I see a lot of. And, one of the places that I like to climb over there in the northern Catskills is Plattekill Mountain, the ski center.
Yeah.
Amazing view of just kind of like everything. It just blows your Utsianta. You can drive up to, you can hike up to 1.2 miles. Like it's just the fire tower. Yeah, it has cell phone towers all over the freaking place, but it kind of gives you that perspective differently of the Catskills that you don't really know of. And then you have the town, the culture. It's good. I'm an Oneonta guy, so I have to drive through there almost every time. So it's good stuff. It's what about some hidden waterfalls? Do you want to share that information, or is that a no?
There are a couple gems. I'm not being vague on purpose. I just simply don't remember. Kenny Gearloff actually took me here. He's like, dude, you ever go to that waterfall over? I was like, no, I never heard of that. It's not far from the trailhead. It's on the road, which if I get this right, it's a miracle. I think it's County Route 42 that goes to the Slide Mountain Trailhead and the Panther Mountain Trailhead.
Yep.
And before it starts to climb up to that little lake near the Slide Mountain Trailhead, there's a little pull off on the right. And you take a little trail down, it's on state land. And it's a series of 3 waterfalls that have just been carving through the rock for 13, 14, 15,000 years. And they're basically like 40-foot wide kettle holes. And I can't remember the name of the stream that runs through there, but there's a pullover on the right, mile or two before the Panther Mountain Trailhead. Very subtle.
Yeah, I know exactly where you are.
Yeah,
Pantherkill
it's cool.
Gorge.
What's
cool.
that?
I've heard it's called Pantherkill Gorge.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and there's other stuff upstream from there.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. There's a lot of cool waterfalls in that area and elsewhere in the Catskills. The key to finding waterfalls in the Catskills is knowing where the bedrock is, as opposed to the glacial till material, which is not going to create a waterfall. It's just going to create a lot of white water, but no drop.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things.
One thing I have, Eric, when you're talking about these areas, do you remember your visit to Giant Ledge and Panther? Do you remember how small the parking area was?
Yeah, it was on that death-defying turn as well.
Yeah, they've expanded that now. It's a little bit. I mean, I'm gonna say expanded with quotation marks because it's very, very weirdly expanded.
Yeah.
It looked like basically somebody dumped stuff down and did it by hand and then walked away. So
Okay.
talk about how popular Giant Ledge was back in, like, was it still popular in 2008, 2010 area?
It was. People like to camp up there. I forget what way it faces. They like to camp up there for the sunrise or sunset.
Correct. Yeah. That was
Sunrise.
sunrise. Definitely.
Yeah.
It was the east. So it's crazy. I'm always curious of the different changes of, 20 years ago compared to now. And
Yeah.
they've expanded it with the second most popular area of the Catskills, expanded with basically they took a big shit on the area and then spread it out. So that's
Yeah.
crazy.
I think what they put down is tailings when they go in and they put down resurface a roadway or a parking lot. They're supposed to grind up the existing surface as opposed to just paving over it. And that creates that material, such as they put on the end of Spruceton Road.
Oh yeah.
It's all tailing material that came off of the deep notch.
Correct.
All right. So with a drum roll, this brings us to what is Erik doing now? Sounds like Erik's done a lot of really, really cool stuff over the past 50 years, plus or minus. And he's not only done some cool stuff, but he's written about the cool stuff. So why don't you tell us kind of what you did after you left the Catskills, and then let's dive into some of the books that you've written and maybe wrap it up with a couple of book recommendations for our listeners. So when you left the Catskills, what did you get into other than trouble?
Right. Yes, I got in a little trouble. I moved to the capital region for a different job, started a new career working with veterans, and got into the mental health field. And when I was out there, that's when I wrote about street names. So I wrote a book where I decoded Albany's 800 street names. So why is every street named the way it is? That's probably my favorite book I've ever written, the street name book. It was really cool. And then I went on a veteran-only backpacking trip to Colorado in 2018. I was invited out here to go on it. And then I became a very typical Colorado story. You come out on vacation and you go home and get your stuff. And that's exactly what I did. Came out here 2018, hiking up around Aspen, fell in love with the place, and came out here November 2019. In fact, a couple days ago was my 6-year anniversary. It's really nice. I like it out here, and the way I explain it to hikers is like, this is my reward. So after bushwhacking through, oh my God, this godforsaken terrain in the Adirondacks and the Catskills and Maine and New Hampshire and camping when it's 20, 30, 35 below zero, this is a total cakewalk. Now, can you get hit by lightning and killed? Yes. And may you fall off something to your death? Yes. But other than that, the hiking's actually pretty easy. So it's hard to imagine for some Northeast hikers, but imagine a place with no bugs and no humidity, and it's basically sunny every single day. I mean, Colorado Springs, 82% of their days, sunrise to sunset, is completely clear skies. So totally spoiled. I think I've become very soft. I think if I went to the Adirondacks and tried to bushwhack, I would just quit. So I'm glad I got that done. I continue to write, and I've recently returned to mountain bike racing and long distance mountain biking. So my tastes have changed a little, but the most important part is that I'm outdoors. It's obvious that I love nature. I love the culture, everything having to do with outside. If it's outside, I'll do it.
I like that.
Yeah, very
It's fantastic. So I have a big question. You brought this up on our recent emails, and source to sea. That seems pretty crazy and freaking sketchy to me. So what does that involve?
Right. So this is Catskill centered, though not hiking. I think it was 2007-ish. I came up with a new goal. I wanted to do something different. So I had been a peak bagger, long distance hiker, long distance mountain biker, bike racer, yada, yada, yada. And I said, well, I have canoed a lot, but I've never been down a whole river. So the goal was to paddle the 5 longest rivers in the Northeast. from source to sea. And you have the Delaware, the Susquehanna, the Hudson, the Connecticut, and the Penobscot in Maine. Those are the 5 longest. So I started plugging away at those. So I first did the Susquehanna with a friend of mine. And we started, I mean, if I'm going to do source to sea, it's source to sea. You know, we started at a little spring, like the size of this desk that I'm sitting at,
Oh, wow.
and walked all the way down to Cooperstown where you could actually get in the water. It was deep enough. And then we paddled. The Susquehanna is the longest river in the Northeast, 460 miles. So we did that, finished that. He couldn't go on the next trip, which was the Delaware, so I did it solo. And that starts in the Catskills, right around Stamford area. Again, start where it's a little trickle. It was on top of a 2,500 footer that I got permission to hike. Found the trickle on the side. Walked all the way down till I could hop in my boat and went down. And that is 360 miles.
Wow.
Why I never finished is because at the time I was teaching and I changed careers, so I didn't have summers off anymore. And so the plan got abandoned, but I got those 2. Paddling is way more dangerous than hiking. Oh my God. You know, this is a good comparison. Canoeing down a river is the only sport I've never done at night. In the Army, I freaking jumped out of planes at night. You know, I've camped in the winter at night. I've done everything at night. I've mountain biked at night. But rivers, you have to be very careful. And if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to get in over your head, right? Because you just round a bend and there's a log. You round a bend and there's class 3 rapids, whatever. I'm a really good paddler. I had taught canoeing to people in the past, so I knew what I was doing. But you have to be very careful. Another major challenge, not on the Susquehanna, but on the Delaware, is they have massive vessels that put out a 6 to 8 foot wake. These ships are like the size of small cities. And so if you see a ship coming, I would have to take refuge in some kind of port or marina or something like that and let it go by. But then also I had to learn the tidal cycles. Now it doesn't happen in Susquehanna because they have dams at the bottom of the river. So you don't have to worry about any of this stuff. The Delaware was far more challenging than the Susquehanna, though it was 100 miles shorter.
Wow.
Yeah. Very cool.
That's pretty insane.
Sounds like a cool project.
So you did this as in like kind of like days or continuously?
It was continuous. So I know the Susquehanna took 16 days, and I think the Delaware took 13.
Oh, wow. And now where did you start hitting like the boats and stuff like that? I'm guessing down in like Harrisburg, stuff like that, at Susquehanna.
The Susquehanna, that was one with the dams, so no vessels.
Okay, vessel. Sorry.
No, that's okay. It was a nightmare, like something out of a horror movie, going through Philly. So I had to paddle through Philly. It's a major shipping port. And what you'll have is just on the side of the river, there is no shore. It's just like a breaker wall for like 2 miles. So you have to time it when a vessel comes through to actually scoot through before you get swamped. Because I didn't use a kayak. I used a canoe, but it looks like a canoe kayak hybrid. So I used a Hornbeck boat. So Hornbeck is a famous builder in the Adirondacks, founder is since deceased. And imagine a kayak without the decking. Okay. So it's just like a long canoe. I use a 17-foot canoe, so it tracks. And you sit on the floor in the middle and use a kayak paddle. And that was ideal. I wouldn't recommend anything different. It was perfect.
Where were you at the end? I mean, obviously, way upstream, there's probably plenty of places to camp overnight. But when you get to these more urbanized areas, are you guerrilla camping?
Yeah,
what are you doing at night?
Yeah, guerrilla camping. The worst campsite I've had in my life, and I'm up to like 1,200 nights camping, was in Trenton, New Jersey. I will never forget it. I kept paddling till it was pitch black because I didn't want to pull in and people knew where I was. So I just kept paddling till it was dark. And then I pulled in, and there were these bushes, just these bushes near it. And I pulled in my canoe, and it was all just garbage, broken glass, milk jugs, whatever. And I've got this friggin' 17-foot canoe I have to hide. And so I dragged it in the bushes and I slept under the canoe, didn't get a wink of sleep, and then vacated the next morning. And of course, I didn't sleep because of all the noise.
Yeah.
You know, it's like cars revving and people screaming and sirens. It was not the wilderness by any stretch of the imagination. So that's a good question. The lower I got on the river, the shittier the campsites.
Mhm.
I could only imagine.
Yeah.
And then it also gets wider and wider and wider. So you have to choose which side, or you kind of like pre search like your areas of where you can camp, and that's just insane. Of just going down the Chesapeake Bay, or where does the Delaware River come down in?
When it became the Chesapeake Bay on a map. So where I saw the word Chesapeake Bay, that's where I stopped. You're also getting brackish water at that point. And to your point, I would stop at like a marina and I point to my boat and I'm like, that's what I'm in. Like, what should I do? And they're like, oh, yeah, that's going to be a problem. So they gave me some good advice. They're like, yeah, don't go over there and don't go over here. There's also just a lot of debris in the river. There's like old piers, and I was just paddling along and a piece of rebar just went through the bottom of the canoe. There's just shit everywhere, and you go up on shore and it's broken glass and nails and stuff like that. And it's a very thin Kevlar boat. So there was also some damage to the boat before I got to the end as well. I know I'm really selling this as your next vacation.
I got to go get my paddle and life jacket.
Yeah.
So you get to the end of this adventure, and it reminds me when I was in high school, one of my best friends and a buddy of his went from his backyard eventually to the Allegheny River, eventually then to the Mississippi and the Gulf of Mexico. And they weren't able to complete it in one summer. They had to do it in 2 summers. What'd you do when you got to the Chesapeake Bay with your gear? How did you get it all home?
Well, it was very convenient. So the friend I paddled the Susquehanna with is from the Chesapeake Bay.
Mm.
His sister lived a half hour away, and it was Thanksgiving.
Gotcha.
So she picked up our stuff, and I believe I ate a whole turkey, if I'm remembering correctly.
God damn, I would have. Yeah.
Was the turkey good, or didn't matter?
Anything would have tasted good.
Yeah.
After a through hike, that's the way it is. After a through hike, a paddle from source to sea. Jesus.
So let's talk about your books. Tell us what you've written, what you're most proud of, and knowing that the bulk of our audience are Catskill hikers. What book that you've written do you think would interest them the most?
Right. I think the book, so I don't have any Catskill specific books. Most are about Albany history, a memoir, a coffee table book, and the rest are just good old fashioned history books.
Adirondack history.
Yep. Pardon?
Adirondack history, right? You have
Adirondack history, yes.
Yeah.
And Lake Champlain. So I'm kind of centered on that part of the world. My third best-selling title is Among the Cloud Splitters. And we were talking about toponyms earlier. In that book, I decode all the toponyms in the High Peaks region. So from Owl Pond to Mount Marcy to Gothic to Sawteeth to Whiteface, you name it. That's a pretty popular title, probably third best-selling one. And it was pretty easy to write, admittedly, because history has been well chronicled in the High Peaks. I also have place name books about the Trans-Adirondack route, Lake Champlain, Albany. The heftiest book I've ever written, the one I'm most proud of, is 2-volume With an Axe and a Rifle. And With an Axe and a Rifle chronicles the settlement history of the Adirondack Park's 92 towns. So who showed up and built the first cabin? I don't have much history in those books that exceed 1850. We're talking about towns that were settled pre-Revolutionary War up on Lake Champlain and down along the Mohawk River. It's 2 volumes, 1,200 pages. Probably took me 4 years to write.
1,200 freaking pages? Wow.
Yeah, two 600-page volumes. It's rather, I must admit, it's rather esoteric history. It's, predating when hiking was a thing, but it's really important history. And I received some advice from a historian years ago, and he took me aside when I was writing a history book about Albany. And in a very serious voice, he said, you need to write this book correctly because these people are deceased and they're not around to correct you. And so recording history is very serious business. So yeah, a bunch of place name books from Albany all the way up to the Adirondacks, but I'm most proud of With an Axe and a Rifle.
Nice. So like, where can we purchase these books? I mean, a lot of people purchase books from Amazon, but where can it be, I would say, more profitable to you, more profitable to the area and stuff like that, instead of, just going straight from Amazon?
Right. So I am of the do-it-yourself work ethic. I'm one of few authors who does not sell on Amazon.
Nice. All right.
Yeah, I don't have a relationship with them. Like I was asking permission to hike these 2,000-foot peaks. If I'm near a bookstore, I stroll inside and ask if they want to sell my titles. So most bookstores in the Adirondacks sell my titles, as do some in Albany region, the capital region. The best place to buy them is my website, and it's just my name, erikschlimmer.com. And you go there, and you'll see all the books. They ship pronto. They're all signed, and every title comes with 3 days of good luck.
Nice.
I just throw that in for free.
Wow.
Excellent.
Fantastic. Like that's great. So once again, I'll have all his links in the show. We'll have his link of his just webpage. We'll have his link of his pictures and stuff. And then we'll have his link of the books that you can purchase online. And I definitely look forward to maybe having you on the show again. Maybe you can come back out to the Catskills again. We could have you up. And hopefully you'll enjoy your time out there in Colorado. Let us know how easy it is out there instead of facing these rugged, crazy high peaks of the east that everybody complains about when they come out here. So, I mean,
will do. Promise.
That's great.
So, Erik, is there anything that we didn't cover that you were hoping we would cover? Any plugs or advice or yeah?
Okay. That was quite a bit. You did an excellent job. I really enjoyed talking to you guys. It's a very chill vibe. And again, I had never been in a position on a podcast to talk about the Catskills exclusively. Like one of you were saying before, and I say the same thing. People drive up I-87 and they look to the left and they're like, oh, look, a bunch of mountains. And then you just keep going up to the Adirondacks. Very special range. And I like that you guys are representing Catskill culture. I think it's really important. So you have not missed a thing.
Excellent. Thank you.
That puts a big smile on our face, and we're glad to have you on the show once again. But last question. Post-hike brews and bites. What was your flavor? I mean, this is a little while ago that you've been to the Catskills. What was your favorite place to get after a hike and stuff like that?
Yeah, probably half the businesses are out of business. It's so long ago, but I'm confident it is still in business. So when I lived in Oneonta, and you would know actually because you're up in Oneonta, there was the Yellow Deli.
Correct. Yellow Deli.
Is that still a thing?
Yep.
I really like Yellow Deli. And so those not familiar with it, I can see it in my mind's eye. Excellent food. The pound cake is to die for. And it's when you eat in there, it looks like you're in the home of like a hobbit. It's
Correct.
yeah, like this ornate wood carvings from old barns. And yeah, I would highly recommend Yellow Deli and leave room for the pound cake.
Wow.
Correct.
Interesting.
Not
I
what
was going
about
to guess
Sal's
Stewart's
or Sal's?
Sal's Pizza.
Well, I do. Now, there are a few things I do miss about the Northeast, and one is Stewart's.
Yes.
Stewart's, that mint cookie crumble, forget about it. It's so friggin' good. That is one of the things I really miss about the Northeast is Stewart's. Really good coffee, really good ice cream.
I mean, God, I'm so glad that somebody else agrees with us with Stewart's being the best. So
Yeah.
once again, wrap thing up. Thank you, Eric, for being on the show. Really appreciate it. This was an awesome discussion of your love and passion of hiking, and then of the Catskills, the Adirondacks, your topography, everything that goes along was just a fantastic episode of your love and devotion towards that area. And once again, I hope you have a great time out there. Hopefully we'll see you out here in the Catskills, and have a good night. Thank you.
The pleasure was all mine.
I don't think
Thanks,
so.
Eric.
No, I don't think so. It was mine.
I'll take credit for it. Why not?
Yeah, right.
I'm not bashful.
Hey everyone, I just want to thank you for listening to the show. If you enjoyed the show, subscribe and throw down a smooth review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any podcast platform that you use. You can also check daily updates of the podcast, hikes, hiking news, and local news on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and the official website of the show. Remember this, you gotta just keep on living in the Catskills, man. Livin.
Wicked, 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 wicked.